Welcome back to Close Up. Still so much to sort through from the mountain of stories and outcomes of this recent New Hampshire primary. Here to help us get a big picture look at the campaigns is WMUR political reporter John Estaso. Thanks for being here and still being here
we're still here
as the long week continues.
Exactly.
So let's just go through these campaigns one by one. Bernie Sanders, now two-time winner of the New Hampshire primary. John, how did he pull this one off?
Mainly with goodwill left over from 2016, but even more importantly, on-the-ground organization that really was tops in the state. It never really went away from 2016. The core organization stayed in place. They certainly had a rocky road late in the fall, late last year, summer of last year, where they had to make some changes. But the heartfelt support of his supporters was there. Obviously, he didn't get 60%, but there were a heck of a lot more candidates this time.
Yeah, very different race, and he was able to grind it out. And certainly, you mentioned that campaign trouble he had early on. A lot of these bigger campaigns came in with a bigness, if that's the best way to put it. And that was a problem for some of the Bernie folks who had been there from the very beginning of that insurgent campaign in 2015. They kept hammering away at the national campaign, saying, you got to change here, you got to change. And there were some changes made, and that ended up working out for him.
It seems like it did become more of a ground up. I mean, I hate to be a cliche, but it's true. More of instead of a top-down approach that they had at the beginning, more of a ground-up approach that was reminiscent of 2016. Added to the fact, Adam, of course, that money counts, and Bernie Sanders raised a tremendous amount of money. And as anyone watching knows from watching this station, advertising certainly helped, and the type of advertising was sort of that a one-to-one message that he really portrayed.
Right. And he certainly cleaned up in the college towns from Keene to Durham. He did really well.
And the cities.
And the cities too. So that was
surprising.
Core urban areas. Yeah.
I looked at Manchester. I didn't really expect him to do as well as he did here, but they worked, and they did apparently knock on a lot of doors, as they said they did.
And he held down the fort in western New Hampshire, where he needed to keep an advantage. And it's interesting, moving to the #2 finisher in this race, Pete Buttigieg worked very hard to try and sort of diminish that advantage in western New Hampshire, and he came close in places like Claremont, where he visited 3 times, and I think he kept it within a couple hundred votes there, between 500 for him and about 700 for Sanders. But in the end, for Buttigieg, not enough to win, but certainly, I mean, an incredible finish for someone coming in here as absolutely no one back in early 2019.
There's certainly a narrative there that he can accurately say, and his supporters can accurately say, that he was a quote-unquote winner of this, because who expected Pete Buttigieg months ago to be where he was, so close to Bernie Sanders? They could spin that Bernie Sanders perhaps didn't do as well as he should have. Bernie Sanders did win. Pete Buttigieg in second place, ahead of Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden. There's no other way to look at it but a win. And again, they worked very hard. He drew tremendous crowds here, as you well know, and we'll see where he goes from here. Now the road may get a little rougher for him.
Right, a remarkable and meteoric rise. And you can see, we mentioned Claremont, he did well there. He won the city of Laconia. And Hanover too. So, and the campaign was pushing this in the wake of Tuesday, saying essentially the support for Pete is broad-based. There's a lot of different people coming into this, and there's an argument there. If you're looking for someone who can take on President Trump in the fall, that might be him, but he has to get through this rough and tumble primary process.
Yes, he does. And I think he got a lot of the, as you say, the suburban vote, the more progressive, but not totally far left, the progressive vote. A lot of that went to Buttigieg, and it also went to Amy Klobuchar, which I think we might be discussing next.
Perfect transition there. And you have to wonder if there's going to be one what if for Pete Buttigieg in the final days of this campaign. What if he had been able to go bigger in the debate? And of course, he was under a tremendous amount of fire and attack there and was playing a lot of defense. But clearly the story coming out of the debate was Amy Klobuchar. And you could see in places that probably paid attention to that debate, like Ward 1 in Manchester, she won. And she was able, they're calling it the Klobucharge, was able to make that last minute strong finish.
As well. Yes, she had a tremendous debate. She was that candidate that peaked exactly at the right time. It happens, throughout history at times, and that was where she was right this time, and it had a lot to do with the way she campaigned, the personal aspect of it. She was also, of course, the strong debate, and then following that up with some very, very effective events and an effective narrative about drawing people in from the middle. And she probably took some votes from, well, obviously from Joe Biden, and I would think to a degree from Buttigieg.
Mm-hmm. And the comparison I would make, and maybe this is not one-to-one, but in some ways it seems like a little bit of a John McCain with Amy Klobuchar. You know, she had some of the self-deprecating humor. She was funny, but also had that edge. You know, when you poked her, she was going to poke back.
Right.
And
she used the term grit.
Yeah,
a lot.
grit.
And she talked about McCain in a reverent way, as she coupled with him on legislation. So she knew she knew how to get to the sort of the independent voter as well.
Right.
And obviously John McCain drew a lot of independent votes in his time, and I'm sure when we find that figure out in the next day or so, we will see that a lot of the independent vote went to Amy Klobuchar.
And one common bond that they share as well is humor. It is always down the list, but very important in terms of developing a rapport here. You know, John McCain was able to make people laugh. Klobuchar could do the same.
Dry humor.
Exactly. Yes. I think so many people were talking about her, talking about the ex-boyfriends donating $17,000 to her campaign.
Right.
So there was something there that people caught on to, and what a finish for her.
Right.
On the flip side, we have the 4th and 5th place finishers. Elizabeth Warren comes up short here in New Hampshire. This was a loss to her, not just in so many ways, because she had for so long focused on New Hampshire, and she was the front runner here last summer and just couldn't sustain.
I think it's devastating for her, probably even more so potentially. We'll see in the coming weeks than for Joe Biden, because Joe Biden has allegedly has a firewall. At least that's what he thinks he does. I don't know exactly where Elizabeth Warren's firewall is. I thought this was it. This was where she had to at least finish, I thought, second. We remember when we all thought that it was going to be this battle between Bernie and, Elizabeth Warren. And as it turned out, she just the opposite of Klobuchar. Elizabeth Warren peaked back when the leaves were changing. And I don't know, maybe she just didn't know how to kind of bring this home and make it more personalized to people. She talked in that way, but I think there was just some sort of a missing element in terms of believability. And now where does she go from here? She says her campaign says she's going to go through to Super Tuesday. But if she does terribly in Nevada and South Carolina, question is, does she make it to Super Tuesday?
Right. If I had to pinpoint one thing with her, she's this brilliant candidate, and people would come out of those town halls and just say, my goodness, she knows so much, and she knows exactly what she wants to do. But then she hit that stumble in October with Medicare for All and having to go back and forth. And it's hard to be the candidate with all the plans and then not have the plan in place for health care. And that seemed to have popped the bubble a little bit there. But speaking of popping the bubble, Joe Biden, this is going to go down sort of in first in the nation infamy as one of the big collapses in an odd way. He's done it before. 1987 was down in flames, and here we are again in 2020.
Right. I mean, I think of it's even more devastating. I think way back to 96 with Bob Dole, who took a loss here, but he was able to recover and move on. Then you had George W. Bush, who lost here, and then he went to South Carolina and won in 2000 and won that nomination. For Joe Biden, it just never seemed like he had his heart and soul into New Hampshire. That's just my hunch. He said all the right things up until the end, which we'll get to, when he self-destructed on the debate stage and said that he was totally lowered the expectations, and then obviously left the state 4:30 on the afternoon of Election Day. That very disappointed core supporters who put a lot into his campaign. Can he make it? Where's the money going to come from now? Is it going to go to Klobuchar? How does Joe Biden get to his firewall of South Carolina? And when he gets there, is it going to be sort of a rerun of what we saw way back in the 2008 campaign when Rudy Giuliani relied on Florida, and then by the time he got to Florida, it was over?
So many of these campaigns sat down in 2019 and looked at the map and said, okay, Bernie and Elizabeth are here, we can get around New Hampshire, we have to do it. The truism, again and again, people always underestimate that week between Iowa and New Hampshire, the meat grinder, when everyone's paying attention. And if you haven't put the time in New Hampshire, suddenly you're coming up short.
I've always said, I mean, this was a weird year because of what happened in Iowa, but I've always said that the bounce doesn't last that long.
Yeah. All right, John DeStaso.
Thank you,
Thanks
Adam.
so much.
Nice job on this cycle.
And another primary under the belt for you.
Yes.
On to 11.
This was 11.
Oh, this is on to 12.
We'll be making an even dozen next time.
Let's do it. We'll do it again next time.
All right.